Xavier Lucas didn't necessarily light up the stat sheet, and I got to say that I don't remember seeing him play, even though I watched Wisconsin play a few times this year. Oregon, in particular, that game comes to mind, and a couple other times. But looking into his ability, his potential, his ceiling, and also what he did produce when he was on the field, he was in the All-America freshman type status. So he did impress when he was on the field. So makes it obvious why Miami would want him to help out in the secondary after a strong showing at Wisconsin. What you reminded me of, because this story's been going on for a week, maybe something in
It's
that
been going on
range.
long. It's been going on way longer than that,
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
because if you go back to the initial request from Xavier Lucas to enter the portal, you're talking, since last calendar year. So this has been going on for more than a month. I think 6 to 8 weeks, give or take.
Okay. Okay. It has been quite some time, because then when I offered this up to you before we started the show, you reminded me something that I had long since forgotten, that Xavier Lucas did his due diligence, by all accounts, to enter the transfer portal. And I have not heard of a situation in which a school refused to process the paperwork and enter a player into the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a first for everything. We had never seen something like a parent's mom absconding their signing day national letter of intent up until Alex Collins' mama did that years ago. For those of you who've been around for a while, you remember that story. True story from South Plantation High School, 5-star running back who went to Arkansas. But yeah, that really happened. His mom ran off with the papers and refused to sign. So he couldn't sign on signing day. His dad had to pop into the picture, which was a sometimey kind of proposition in their family, to actually put pen to paper as a legal parent of his. So there have been things with Miami and other players and whatnot, but this is not a Miami issue. This is Wisconsin failing to do their duty. They elected not to fulfill their necessary requirement. So Xavier Lucas said, hey, I want to go into the portal. Now, this is a kid who's from South Florida, bounced around a little bit, went to Deerfield, went to Dillard, landed at American Heritage as a 3-star, was a fringe kind of player, and I don't, for everybody who's watching, both Deerfield and Dillard are very, very high caliber track teams, right? So if you remember Denard Robinson, who was a player when I worked at Deerfield Beach, they had a foursome that broke the state record in their classification on 4x4, or sorry, 4x1 then. Chris Johnson, who previously was at Miami as a 2-time double state champion, he ran track at Dillard. So and Xavier Lucas also was very much more renowned for his track acumen than his football playing, goes to American Heritage as a senior, and all of that raw potential started turning into that kind of performance that you want to see at 6 foot, 205 pounds with long arms. And so Miami did take a run at him, but didn't really go all in. He was a player we would have taken in the class of 2024, but he wasn't make or break. So he goes to Wisconsin, following several other people, Dante Carrier-Williams and others from down here who have made that. Rashard Wildgoose from Miami Northwestern. There have been a few guys who've gone up to Wisconsin, decided to do that, join Miami's former quarterback Tyler Van Dyke up there, things like that. Goes through the season and says, hey, I want to go into the portal. And after all the groundwork I've laid to you, Wisconsin refused to do their required action. And so then, it's going back and forth. Well, he signed this and he signed that. And the revenue sharing is not a thing that is currently on the books. It is supposed to be enacted in the future. So now if you're leveraging and saying he signed a compensation contract as an employee that we're going to enforce with a non-compete, you're outing yourself as being afoul of the rules, Wisconsin. So that had nothing to do with us. And, so Lucas is, he wants to come back home. He wants to come to Miami. There was somebody from Wisconsin who made the spurious accusation that they have tangible proof that Miami tampered with Xavier Lucas, show and prove, put it up on the Summer Jam screen. And if we did, we did. I'll be the first one on here to say, hey, if you have that, but if you're making the accusation, show it, bitch. Sorry, excuse language. But yeah, so it came to the point finally when you have move-in weekend and things like that. If I look it up really quickly, I should have had this. Let me academic calendar spring 2025. So move-in day has already come and passed. But the last day to register for classes is today. Was today. As I'm looking at the academic calendar on my computer right now. Let me make sure that's right. Last day for registration and to add a course. Yeah, January 22nd. Today, Falconer TRX, got to throw it up. So he had up until literally today, and we're past the close of registrar, the registrar's office. So if you want to attend the University of Miami in this semester, that window is now closed. You cannot register. You cannot add classes by the time that you're hearing my voice, whether it's live right now or pre-recorded, right? So Xavier Lucas did what students all over know. Shout out to my boy Dirty Dave, who went to Clemson, transferred to Miami. Shout out to my boy Eric Stinnett, went to North Texas, transferred to Miami. You get where I'm going here. He withdrew, Xavier Lucas that is, from Wisconsin, as is his right as an individual and a student, and then matriculated at the University of Miami. Boom. Now, Wisconsin throwing all these accusations and things, the NCAA made a statement and said there are no rules that prohibit a player from withdrawing from one academic institution and registering and competing at another academic institute. There is no rule prohibiting that anywhere in any NCAA structures. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about Wisconsin being butthurt and trying to strong arm a kid who didn't want to be there to stay there. And I mentioned a couple players from South Florida who went there, and two of those three had very negative interactions with other coaching staffs and just the structures at the University of Wisconsin. Look, they are not new to creating controversy with players from South Florida going up there and treating them the wrong way, not doing right by them. That's firmly what happened with Xavier Lucas. They did not do right by that man and forced him to make a choice. Well, they tried to force him into, I was going to say something that would have been very, 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 I don't want to say that. I don't want to go there. But they were trying to force him to stay there against his will. Sorry. So he took the path, and this is a structure that any student can do. He withdrew from the university and enrolled at a better institution known as the University of Miami, located in beautiful, sunny Coral Gables, Florida. Period. The end. Now, in terms of Miami, that's another huge get in the transfer portal, or even though technically he didn't even enter the portal, but whatever. On our roster for next year, that's a huge get. This is a player that, again, we did recruit out of high school, even if he wasn't at the top of the list. This is a kid who, showed up well when he had time, on the field and everything. I believe he had a sack against Oregon coming from the secondary, had a couple PBUs, a really nice reach behind him, double toe tap interception in the game. This is a kid with all the physical tools, and he gives you another player of the caliber that you need to have in the secondary. Whether it's at corner or at safety, I don't really care. I think that he has the ability to stay outside, but he definitely has the athleticism to move inside and be a valuable player there as well. So it was a little bit of a saga through that. I'm sure that Wisconsin is going to keep chirping. I know their fans have been chirping about stuff, but stupid people say lots of stuff all the time, and that's what I believe them to be in this instance. So I'm not paying them any mind. But definitely been a circuitous route for Xavier Lucas to travel to 3 different high schools here in South Florida, go away, and then come back. But I think he's in the place that he wants to be. He tweeted out yesterday, good to be home, in his jersey, wearing number 12 with a video and throwing up the U on social media. So, yeah, I mean, it's great to see that. And that's the main thing for me. And I've said this, and you know this, Mark, I want the players to be happy. And whether that's here or somewhere else, if they make the decision to go somewhere else, I don't like it. Hey, but that's their choice. Cool. I wish you all the best. I don't have any ill will towards any player. And whether he was leaving Wisconsin to go to Iowa State or Miami, the issue is he did what he needed to do to show and enact, I want to leave this place. And Wisconsin was the entity that ran afoul and refused to do what they needed to do. So he took it into his own hands, withdrew, enrolled here in a better place, and we're going to move forward.
So I'm right there with you. I don't want anyone to be coerced into staying somewhere they don't want to be or going somewhere they don't want to go or anything like that. Free country. And certainly, if we get to a place where it's more of a formal employment situation and you sign a contract that's different, then you know the terms of the contract and you understand the agreement. But we are not there right now. And this is a rare situation, as Cam outlined, in that the transfer portal exists because players then want to test the waters, decide and be courted and make a decision based on finances, based on opportunity, based on relationship with coaches and so forth. But here's a situation where he clearly knew where he wanted to go, and he's established himself well enough as a good football player to know he's wanted there at Miami. So he could just simply make that decision of ending his enrollment or forgetting the terminology, what that would be versus enrolling then at Miami. So there it is from that standpoint. All right, and when you say stupid people, I would say I would replace that at times with just the word fans. Fans sometimes are reasonable people, but when they're in their fan mode, they're not a father, a brother, a sister. They're not their normal person. They become a stupid person and they act irrationally. And suddenly their school, their team can do no wrong, and everybody else is the enemy, and they're horrible, and they don't even know the facts of the situation. But of course, they're in the wrong.
True.
So,
But, fan is short for fanatic. So, that can be a synonym at times.
Absolutely.